We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us on this Tuesday. Good topic. As you see, Animal Rescue Corps. This is the founder right here, Scotlund Haisley. It's good to have you on. And the man's dedicated his life to this. I mean, I'm reading his bio here. What haven't you done with regard to animal welfare over the years? You were even involved with rehabilitation of some of the pit bulls confiscated from Michael Vick.
Yes.
Which was a big case. You were there with the rescue efforts in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina and the animals there. And now, of course, founder of this organization, Animal Rescue Corps, that really, I say, is on the front lines. As soon as you hear about it, you move in as quickly as you can to rescue animals. Is there any other organization right now, and I'm not asking you to necessarily toot your horn, but you're national, you would respond anywhere. If you got a call today that there was a horrible situation in Los Angeles, you'd be on your way. What other organizations react as quickly to you? I assume that's one thing you felt there was a need, which is why you started this.
You know, there are a few other large organizations like the ASPCA and the Humane Society of the United States that have divisions or departments that do similar work. We're the only organization that I'm aware of that its primary focus is to address large-scale animal cruelty and have a response team to do so.
The key there is the response team and how they set it up and go out there and actually move and get the dogs to safety. Let's take a call or two for you. We got some folks that waited through the break. If you want to jump in, 737-7587, give us a call. We'll go to Eddie. Good morning, Eddie.
Yeah, what I was calling about is, he already answered some of the questions. I was wondering, what in the world would anybody want to have all those dogs like that for? And you said they're hoarders. I mean, what do they just like see an animal stray and pick it up and drag it home and keep bringing more home? I mean, and then the guy with all the horses. I mean, horses ain't cheap. I mean, how in the world you end up with all these? I just don't get it.
That's a great
I'm an
question.
animal lover, you know, and I got a dog sitting there beside me on the couch. So what in the world is going on?
Eddie, we were just kind of talking about that during the break, and that is a good question. For a lot of these people, if they're puppy millers to begin with, it's a financial venture, and clearly, when you hit it like this, the money's gone out the window. So what do you think?
Well, and thanks for the call, Eddie, and those were good questions. And first off, I don't understand it. I've stopped trying to understand why somebody would harm an animal. I don't think I'm ever going to understand that. I'd rather put my energy into saving lives and ending the suffering. In this case, this was a very unique case, and I don't have concrete evidence to prove this, but all the factors lead to my conclusion here, and that is, these were purebred dogs living in a hoarding situation. These were small breed purebred dogs. Yorkies, poodles, Lhasa Apso, Shih Tzus, golden retriever, so on and so forth. Chihuahuas, yes, no shortage of Chihuahuas. Yeah. These animals, usually hoarding animals, are a variety of different dogs that have been picked up as strays or wander on the property, or people toss over the fence because they no longer want the animal and they know this person collects animals. In this case, this looked like a puppy mill, but I'm confident this person wasn't selling animals. I mean, there were a few animals that were bred on the property. There were some puppies, but I think those were accidents. I don't think those were intentional. I think what she was doing was, puppy millers, when their animals can no longer produce, they discard them because they're of no use to the puppy miller anymore. Puppy millers don't view animals as pets. They view animals as factory production machines.
Sure. All right.
So they discard them. In some ways they discard them as they put them to death on their property and discard them that way. Other ways is they give them to rescue groups or they give them to hoarders. And I believe that's what happened here. I believe this woman was a hoarder and does have a mental illness of the hoarding disease. And she was collecting animals from puppy mills.
So in a way, though, maybe in her mind, again, you can't think of what she was thinking. It's better than having them put down. She wanted to take them. She would take them, but she couldn't care for them. Did you say some of the cages that you found these animals in were actually rusted shut, meaning that they were being fed maybe through the bars, but they were never coming out?
You described exactly what I saw. Nick, I've been doing this for 25 years, as we've been discussing. I have seen the absolute worst humanity has to offer. You know, I use a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst I've ever seen. I have certainly seen cases as extreme as this, but this would, in my opinion, is a 10. There were dogs. There was a dog that was matted. His matting had grown into the cage. I had to cut him out of his cage. There were dogs where I had to break the rust on the lock of each cage because they had just been languishing there for weeks, months, if not years. I assume that clearly they were alive, barely, they were existing. So food and water had to have been present, but there wasn't any present while it was there. So in some cases, I'm sure she was dropping food and water through. But inches, if not a foot, of feces in some of these cages and dark areas where these animals were kept.
Well, and you should say that when you go into these facilities to clean it up, I mean, you guys are wearing suits, you're covered up, you've got gloves. The smell is awful, as you can imagine. You get used to it ever? You've been around it so often, you just block it out?
I certainly get used to it, but the masks help.
Well, yeah, there you go. See, there's a mask there that you wear. Well, when you go in, and here's the thing, and my wife has told me more about it. If you could go now, and you're seeing the pictures of the dogs right after they've rescued in this facility now in Lebanon where, these dogs now have been cleaned up. Okay, they're being fed, and most of all, they're getting human contact, loving human contact. It's just how much they've changed. There they are treating one of the dogs. But what have you noticed about just the hearts they're all good creatures to begin with, but they were scared and living in horrible conditions, and now being held like by this woman and being cleaned up. How do they change when they come back? And they're clean. Look at that.
Nick, as I said, these dogs got a double whammy of hell. They went from a puppy mill to a hoarding case, and now they're seeing freedom and kindness and love and socialization, and they're amazingly resilient. We're watching them reclaim the lives that were stolen from them, and they are embracing it.
Yeah, and you have cages that set up, some of which were set up last weekend, where you actually take the animals in. Some of them, you have to recondition them to humans, correct? And you'll bring I didn't see any of them that appeared to me to be vicious. Some of them were timid and afraid,
Certainly.
But most of them were just thrilled. Like when you pet their head, they look at you like, oh, is that what it feels like to be petted? And they just have such grateful eyes. But you guys then start conditioning. This is a process now before any of these animals will be adopted out, that not only does a vet look at them and they're cared for properly to make sure they're not ill, but that they're conditioned for humans.
Job number one when we get them off the property into our emergency shelter is getting them the urgent vet care that they've never had. I mean, in my assumption, these animals have never seen a veterinarian.
Okay.
Job number two is to get that incredibly thick matting off of them, get them comfortable, get them bathed. Job number three is to start assessing the behavior so we can identify a recovery plan for each individual animal, because we treat each animal as an individual because everybody has their own unique characteristics. And then what we do is we have our volunteers, they're obviously in there from day one cleaning and caring for these animals, but now we're at the stage where we're providing these animals the socialization that they so desperately need, and it's just a beautiful thing to watch, both for the animals and the volunteers.
You talk about the satisfaction, you just seeing them come out of their shell. It's awesome. If you want to feel good about something, volunteer at a cause like this and see the change in these animals when they've been rescued. If that doesn't make you feel good, you're dead inside, because wow, it's awesome. Let's go to Donnie. Donnie, good morning.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Donnie.
I know. What are they going to do if the dogs go to like a SCPA or something like that, where they don't put them down?
Oh yeah, you want to? Well, that's a good question. Once you finally complete this process, what do you normally do now with the animals?
So we are currently in the process where we're communicating with all of the pre-approved placement partners that we work with throughout the region and beyond, and we've already lined up several of them. So they will start receiving these animals into their programs as early as this week. A few of the local groups are Agape Animal Rescue, New Leash on Life. Small breed animal rescue of East Tennessee.
There's some up there, right?
There you go.
Alive in Memphis, Nashville Petite.
Nashville Pity Rescue.
Pity, I'm sorry. Yeah, and Agape, they're big. So what the animals will then be placed, and then through these organizations, they'll let it and put the word out, and that's where people can go to adopt these animals.
Yes, sir. And I think many of these animals will be benefiting from a new permanent loving home for the very first time in days from now.
Yeah, there's something about these rescued dogs or cats or whatever. You just want, but there's just something about them that they're even more devoted because they know what they've been through, and they realize how wonderful it is now, and they make wonderful pets. We need to take a break on that note. When we come back, if you're on hold, stay there. Wayne, Jewel, and others will get to you. The number 737-7587, and more of our conversation with Scotlund right after this. Stay with us.